Welcome to the Nearshore Cafe podcast, home to the most interesting stories and people doing business in Latin America.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Nearshore Cafe podcast. I'm Brian Samson, your host, an entrepreneur who's been doing business with Latin America for the last 8 years. And I'm very excited about our guest today. If you're interested in scaling teams, scaling engineering in Latin America, this episode is for you. Before I introduce our guest, I want to thank our sponsor, a company called Nearshore Direct. Go nearshoredirect.com. They provide all sorts of non-IT labor all across Latin America. Let me introduce our guest, Cesar DOnofrio, the CEO and co-founder of Making Sense. Cesar, so great to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. And thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Cesar, I know you're in the States. You lived in the States for a while, but you grew up in Argentina. And for someone who's worked a lot, you've been in school at Stanford. When you meet someone and you tell them you're from Argentina, how do you describe it? You know, what do you think is important for people who've never been to know about the country?
Some people, you need to kind of describe a little bit, where is Argentina, because maybe they are confused, what part of Latin America. So maybe that is the first thing. And then I feel Argentina have an interesting mix of cultures. Many coming from Europe in the, I don't know, between 1850s to 1950s. A lot of people reaching from Italy, Spain, or a little bit less from Germany, moving to Argentina. So with the natives people in Argentina at that time, they create this special mix that is bringing maybe like good and bad things, but at the end of the day, it was special. I remember my grandfather. He moved from Italy, to Argentina in 1945. My father was 5 years old at that time. So, and I remember that my grandfather told my dad and even myself when he was alive that, they have like two options if you are in Europe, mostly in Italy or Spain at that time. You can go to the land of soldi. That is soldi is money in Italian. So that it was U.S. people, from Italy going to New York or Chicago, or to the land of the patata, that is, the potato, or, the agriculture. And with a great, country like Argentina was, I think at that time it was like part of the top 10 countries in the whole world. So I remember that as an option. So it create like a after, maybe 20, 30 years, or even right now, 70, 80 years later, a very interesting mix. Culture, education, hard work. And that is Argentina today. It's very interesting, how that combination that not all the countries have that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Just hitting on what you said, it's something that I remember I was very impressed with at the beginning, when I first started to study Argentina, was how wealthy it was a long time ago. And then through government policies, crises, things definitely took a turn. And my take on all that is there's some good to come out of it. Is it's created maybe the most resilient people I've ever worked with, and I'd love to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the whole situation, I think in the last, let's say that since this 1960. So in the last 50 years, 60 years, so Argentina has been, and I saw many of those ups and downs.
Hmm. Hmm.
Argentina have like issues with the army, the military between in the 70s. But after in the 82, when the democracy, you know, uh, um, uh, sh- when we have a new, elections, and we have Raúl Alfonsín as the new president, like things start changing a little bit, at least for the political point of view. But the economic, it was really bad. After that government, Argentina went to hyperinflation in the 86 and 87. So it's got like an ups, from the political point of view, but then become like a down from the economic. So it happened some ups and downs. And, I think that resilience that you are mentioning is part of believing in Argentina, including today. Argentina is like 150% inflation per year. So I think it's in the top 10 of the bottom of the list today.
Yeah.
So it make the talent in Argentina, the people in Argentina, to be resilient because of that, ecosystem.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes me, when you say 150% inflation, I had to be there to believe it. Um, but I look at the states, right? Inflation is something on everyone's mind in the US.
Yeah.
And it's very high, relatively speaking, to past years. Um, but everyone is freaking out, right, over 10%, 15% inflation.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure Argentines are kind of laughing, like, if you think that's bad, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it also creates, I think, this calmness, like we can get through anything.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly, exactly, and also some, you know, very good ideas that they are coming from those situations. So yeah, I think yeah, that is very interesting.
Yeah. Um, well, I want to dive into making sense. I
Hmm.
think this is really one of the model organizations over the last few decades that has been wildly successful in growing and scaling engineering. I believe you started this in 2006. But before we dive deep, 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 could you just give our audience a general sense of making sense? What is it? What do you guys focus on? How big is it? Where are you?
Yeah, sure, sure. Well, making sense, we're a software service company. Um, we have a special focus in user experience. So user experience is in the core of our DNA as a company. We have a full service for software development. Don't mean it's not that we are a UX agency. We are a software company, service company with a strong user experience arm. Um, so today we are working a lot on digital transformation projects. Um, we have all our clients in the US. As you mentioned, we have been around since 2006. I think that part of our engineering and UX expertise has been around since then.
Hmm.
But to be honest, um, we have to fine tune our service for and evolve our service for many years until I think that we found a sweet spot, like I don't know, maybe like 7 or 8 or 10 years later. So
Hmm.
we have been trying to find our identity for 8 years.
Yeah.
So and then after that, I think that we really scale the business, because we found what I call, and here in the Bay Area, what they call like market fit.
Hmm.
When you have a product, really, if you're not doing like one or two sales, doesn't mean anything. But
Yeah.
you really find your market fit when you can sell over and over, hundreds or 1,000 times. So
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of software and service entrepreneurs in Latin America. And I think they could get some inspiration from what you just said. Could you share some of the experiences of the very early days, like how you landed your first couple clients and how you found your first couple of team members?
yeah, sure. Well, I started as a software engineer, as a consultant, working for a company in San Antonio, Texas. The name of that company is YNL Consulting. And but back at that time, that consulting company was not able to find enough engineers to work on a healthcare project. So I approached the management of that company and I say, well, I think that I can help you to hire
Mm.
in people that I know in Argentina. So that was our first project. So that deal or transaction lasts for, I don't know, more like 8 years or 9 years,
Wow.
and we grew, from 2 3 developers to 20 or 30 with that company, with that deal. So, and how we started. um, and after that, I don't know, if you are doing a good job in one project, eventually the manager will move to another company and they will call you. And so word of mouth, I think it was the kind of how we were able at that time to, get into other companies, other projects. And, and again, in the first year, it was, something more like opportunistic,
Hmm. Hmm.
until after like 8 years, we say, well, what is our direction really? And we have a lot of thought that we put into
Yeah.
those exercises. When you start a company, we don't. So you don't need to have what is your mission, your vision, and your core
Mm.
value, because it's you and your co-founders and a couple of engineers. So, and everybody, they share breakfast in the morning in the
Yeah.
same office. So, but as you grow, I think that when you pass like 100 people, um, you need to be thinking on, okay, how we put this culture as a company, or the drivers for the team that you're putting together, what is the north? So, how you are thinking uh, what are the values, you as a team? So we started that exercise in 2013 or 14, around
Hmm.
that time, and we did an evolution like, at least like 3 times, of
Yeah.
that, uh, vision, mission, and core values and culture. So,
Yeah. At what size do you think you started to think about structure, like managers, dev managers, architects, project managers? Do you remember that?
well, let me put it this way. So, if you are only providing staffing, like for example, if you have one project and your client is requesting you, I just need 2 PHP developer or 2 Java developer. So you don't need to have a project managers, right? But as you provide more like value,
Hmm.
and as you provide more like managed services, yes, you need to add different roles, and project manager is one. So I think in our case, I think that was pretty soon adding project managers. Maybe in 1 or 2 years, we kind of found
Hmm.
that putting together teams is better than
Yeah.
just isolated developer.
Hmm.
Um, so, and then you evolve from that. I think that today we have more than, I don't know, 20 roles in the company.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and it's a normal evolution, right?
Yeah. And I wanted to ask you, Cesar, with the early days, because nearshoring back then was not what it is today. And, I know Argentina is well known for exporting a lot of services, and that's kind of a way to level up. And English is valuable, and working with the U.S. as past experience is valuable. But what did that look like in the country back in 2006? Was English as abundant? Were there as many developers who had worked with the States? How did you think about that?
Interesting. So working on service, software development service, exporting service at that time, it was not something that you will see like today.
Yeah.
I think that with around 2012 or 2011, there is so the government in Argentina realized how important it is to export
Mm,
those kind of services from Argentina. uh, that is when in Argentina there is the Chamber of Commerce. The name is CESI.
hmm
The Chamber of Commerce push the government in Argentina to have benefits, tax benefit and
mm,
incentive for companies working on the what they call the knowledge
hmm
industry. Um, so I think around 2012 things start to change a little bit. But yeah, in 2006 it was not even possible. Um, I think that you know India, mostly India, it was kind of the first and
mm,
the first option for outsourcing software development.
hmm
Um, um, and Argentina, it was not even in the radar
Yeah.
until I don't think until like few years ago, maybe like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. How did you find your first 5 to 10 engineers? Because you didn't come from a recruiting background. You're an engineer yourself. Was it all your friends? How did you think about that?
Well, we have a funny story. My brother is my partner.
Yeah.
So he was the first one to be able to hire our first engineers, and today are also partners in the company. Um, so it's funny because he went to a local university in Mar del Plata, and put like a piece of paper in the board of the university,
Yeah.
recruiting for Microsoft.NET developers.
Yeah.
And the there are like four guys working on the IT department. They took that piece of paper and put that piece of paper in the pockets and called my brother and would
Okay.
say, well, yeah, we are the only four that respond to that advertising. So that's when we hired those four
Yeah.
engineers that today they're partners in the company. Um, and that's how we started. And I think it was a lot of um, relationships
hmm
with universities, um, and I think that is um, what I would recommend, or what I would like for other companies if they decide to go to Argentina or any other countries, that do like an effort also to help new developers, junior developers, or people that they are in universities to become software engineers. So invest some money on helping other people to learn the industry. So
Yeah.
not just go and hire people left and right. So do some investment on helping people, teach people to how to develop, to be a good software developer.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure those guys are very happy they found that flyer. It changed their
Yeah,
life, right? It changed their
yeah,
life.
yeah.
Um, I also wanted to ask you just how the competitive landscape looked. Today there's so many companies recruiting in Argentina. It's become quite competitive. You even have Latin companies like Mercado Libre, Globant that you also have to compete with. What did that competitive landscape look like? Was it domestic companies like Galicia that maybe you were trying to steal talent from, or other consulting firms? What did that look like in the beginning?
Well, I think that, the story that I described earlier about, the ups and downs of Argentina in general, and that combining that with what's going on in the industry lately, with some technologies, lie off in the last few 12 months. So ups and downs, Brian. So I think it was super, super hot in 2021. I think for local companies in Latin America, like Telefónica, Banco Galicia, all the local companies, they had to compete, to hire, software engineers and pay, US dollars, rates, international rates, because the same developer that can be, work for a Silicon Valley company receiving, X amount of dollars, per month, can be the same developer that could be building software for Banco Galicia. So,
Yeah, right.
So it was tough, I think, in 2020, 2021, just, as a, example for the last 2 years. So it slowed down a little bit. But I think that ups and downs. But yeah, I think that local companies have a challenge, to kind of hire and retaining or attract employees, software
Yeah.
developers in this case.
Some of the companies you mentioned are long-standing, Telefonica, Banco Galicia. Have you seen more competition amongst maybe VC-funded domestic companies in Latin America and especially Argentina?
Yeah, yes. Again, it was, I think 2021, it was the highest point for
Yeah.
VC deployment and money in the IT ecosystem.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was very tough. So slow down a lot. And I think that many of those engineers, um, they have a tough time coming back to, because I don't know, maybe if you are working for a startup here in the Bay Area, yeah, they have ups and downs, but right now many of them they were not able to raise another round of
That's
money.
right. That's right.
So they ran out of money, so they have to close operations, and the software developers that they hired, 2 years ago, now they have no jobs. So coming back to in this timing, coming back to the job market, trying to find a job, there are no more startups, building new software. So it's been ups and downs. So, but I think that eventually, as soon as the economy and in general companies start, investing again in technology or in software development, the market, it will be pretty warm
Yeah.
eventually.
Yeah. You mentioned the 2020, 2021, a very crazy time for everybody.
Yeah.
How did Making Sense think about offices, work from home,
Oh, wow.
coming back to the office?
Wow. Huge topic. Well, let's see what is working and what maybe is not or need room to improve. So being able to work, inside the same office have a big benefit, as far as creativity, working things a lot faster. But also I understand that for software developers or UX designers, if they know what they have to do, they can do it from Mar del Plata, Italy, Barcelona. So they just need to communicate, understand, having been on Scrum meetings, on meetings during the day, and then they know that they have to produce code or produce some kind of deliverables. So um, that is one thing. But also, that is more for senior developers or mid-level developers. I think that senior developer, you have no question about that. But if you have like a junior developer, someone that is just started, that is difficult because you need to be in the office. You need to. It's not the same thing that if hey, let us share your screen and let us code together. That it's not the same level of communication. If okay, let us have lunch and let us talk about um, you know this workflow or these other new tools that we can use. So I think we have a good and bad things. What I know is that eventually we will have a hybrid. We will have getting together, being able to you know with some level of frequency. It could be like weekly or once a month or once a quarter that you put people together in some location. um, it's funny because today I was talking with a friend of mine and he told me that Zoom, the company that the software application Zoom, they are requesting their employees to be back to the office. So um, So I don't know. I think it would be a mix, but I think it would be a hybrid, like um, some frequency when you can get people back to the office or getting together.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what you said earlier too, because when you look at successful software consultancies, you need some sort of a pyramid structure. You can't have 100% senior guys. And your earlier comment about investing in relationships with the universities, you can find talent easier, you can grow talent. So when you have just like the military, you have more privates than generals. You have more junior developers, some semi-senior, a couple seniors. I'm sure that really matters as you think about office culture.
Yeah, 100%. And culture is big thing too when you are working with people that they are miles away. So yeah, being able to build those teams that it will have a mix of experience in different levels, or skills, so that it will make a good solution and something that is scalable at the end of the day.
Yeah. Scalable is the word that I wanted to dive into now, because you built a very successful company, 300, 400 team members. Tell us when did you feel like you needed to switch gears and really thinking about scaling and systems and operations, and what sort of people did you need to start hiring then?
I think after like I don't know exactly the number. I will be like could be like off, but I think I will get it quite right. So
Yeah.
between like 150, 75, between that number, between let's say between 75 to 150, you need to start having like those rules and protocols and yeah, I think that is the number. Having more like a managers, uh, people like being leaders for each department or area. So and it's all an evolution. It will. I think that it will never end when you are passing those numbers. When you are like I don't know, 5, 10,000, you will have another level of management and other
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
So
So would you say about a 150 is where maybe you needed a level above like a lead developer that's coding within. You needed like a some real dev managers that were focused more on managing than coding.
yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
in other areas too, because I don't know, when you are like 10, 20, 50 people in the company, if you have like one person doing recruiting and someone that is, taking care of the payroll, for example, that it will be more than enough. But when you have more volume, you need to have like a head of HR,
yeah,
and that it will be reporting, to those two peoples, and maybe 2021 you need to have like a whole team of recruiting, because recruiting
yeah,
it was very hard.
yeah,
uh, so yeah, I think that you play a little bit, but those numbers, it will start to make sense between 100 and 150.
yeah. And speaking about recruiting, there's obviously technical talent. What are things that your recruiting team is consistently looking for making sense new making sense team members, like cultural attributes, personalities? What are some things that are maybe consistent and making sense?
uh, well, I think that culture is a big factor
Mm-hmm.
today. Even one of our core value is one team, one mission.
Mm,
Uh, if we feel that we have, right engineers, but we feel that is a wrong candidate for the one team, one mission core value, we just hire another one, even when we know that have less experience.
yeah,
Something that we don't have is, um, so I think that you can have like two attributes in one team, and we have a lot of people that do a hard work than people that they are very smart. So even if you can combine two, it would be great.
yeah,
But we have a lot more people on the do a hard work, that
yeah,
really smart people. We have smart people in the company, but if we need to qualify, we have more people doing hard work in
yeah,
general.
yeah, yeah. No, I can certainly see that. Can you talk a little bit about uh, leadership for you today? Like, how are you spending your time? And you're obviously in the States as well. And, you know, uh, um, really, this is helpful for aspiring service entrepreneurs that want to scale and they get to a certain point. How should they spend their time? What advice do you have about leadership, inspiring,
Yeah,
setting guidelines?
yeah. So, yeah, we have different stories. We have companies that providing services from Latin America to the U.S., that they have a headquarters in Latin America, like with office in Mexico, Colombia,
Mhm.
Brazil, or in any of the other countries. And then you have, in the other way, you have people, companies with headquarters in the US, and start hiring people in Latin America. Um, so for both cases, I think that the benefit of having a closer relationship with clients and opportunities and strategy, and see what's going on, on the field, is a huge benefit. So what I saw, and what I would highly recommend, is that when you reach that 100, or 50, or whatever is the number that the co-founders or the owners, they feel that is right, is like start having people here in the US as
Mm,
part of that connection with the clients, with the opportunities. um, and in the last, I don't know, few years, I saw more and more companies doing that. Kind of and I saw a lot of maybe people from Argentina moving to the States because
Mm,
the economic, political reasons, the bad situation in Argentina. But I saw more and more people, transition, more the co-founders to the U.S. and they will have no more like. Mostly like strategic and more
mm,
connection with potential opportunities that dealing with the day by day issues or operation of the business. um
yeah, yeah. Cesar, I also wanted to ask you, because you moved to the States a while ago, starting in Texas and then California. Tell us about your own cultural assimilation. What did you find similar between the States and Argentina, and what was maybe the bigger culture shocks for you?
you know LA movies, Hollywood,
Yeah.
um brands, um the high level design.
Hmm.
So that is, again, it's coming again, kind of going back to our first question about, what is the mix of Argentina.
Hmm.
Uh, that is making Argentina and the U.S. close. Um, so that is in one area, and maybe what is the opposite is the emotions, the
Hmm.
feelings. Um, I think that in the US, people, and you have different flavors, right? But it's more like cold. Um, Argentina is closer to more like Italy and Spain. That
Yeah.
okay, let's put a family together. Uh, in general, you don't move. So if you was born and raised in Mar del Plata, you will stay there. But if um, here in the States you move a lot, and
Hmm.
yes, you have Thanksgiving when you are getting back to your family. But in Argentina, is you will stay the whole life. Pretty much 90% of the time, you will stay in the same city when you were raised and born and raised.
Yeah.
So uh, I don't know. So that's what I feel are the two main, um, you know, uh, the two main reasons, and what is
Sure.
close, far away.
Yeah. I have a few fun questions for you, Cesar.
Sure.
As you've lived in the States for a while now, what's your favorite meal to have in the States?
Um, Favorite meal in the state? Oh, burgers.
Burgers. Yeah,
Yeah.
burgers.
Yeah, burgers. I think that for some reason, burgers. In Latin America, you can get, well, I think that maybe today is a little different, but I think that you can get a decent burger at any place in the US.
Hmm.
In Latin America, it's not that
Yeah.
possible.
Although I will say, my favorite burger in the world is in Argentina. There's a
Oh, is
place
that right?
called Burger Joint in Palermo, Soho.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I ate that one last year. So yeah,
Yeah,
that is good. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Whenever I go there, that is my first stop and my last stop on
Yes.
every trip.
Okay, okay. Well,
Yeah,
good to know. Good to know.
yeah. But to you, the same question: when you turn back to Argentina, what's the one meal that you can't wait to eat?
Oh, I think I like as far as meal is pizza. And for some
Yeah,
reason, the cheese is a little different.
yeah.
What you can eat outside of at least Argentina. What else? Ice cream. It's more like gelato, like
Hmm.
Italian gelato. So that is different. Empanadas. I don't know. There is a bunch of
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
So
yeah,
milanesas, asados. Asados, you can eat decent meat too, but it's a little different.
yeah, yeah. The gelato, by the way, we don't talk about that a lot on the show. We have had many conversations about the pizza and the difference in the cheese, but the gelato is fantastic, and I'd imagine it's from the cows and the agriculture. in the
Yeah,
country.
the milk. Yeah, milk
Yeah,
is a little different. So, yeah, very interesting.
yeah. We have a lot of people that are they come to the show for travel tips as well.
Okay.
So for those going to Argentina for the first time, um, what would you recommend that they shop for, that they purchase?
As
Maybe
far as buying things or
yeah,
going to
yeah,
restaurant or
yeah. So
location.
outside of food, because we know Argentina is a culinary paradise, but
Yeah.
outside of food, anything that you'd recommend that they shop for?
Well, I think it would be it's an excellent souvenir even if you are not using it. It's like a mate.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so
I'll show you mine right here. Yeah,
yes. So
yeah.
that is an excellent souvenir, and if you can use it, even better. I think that yerba mate is getting is
Mhm.
popular in the U.S. too.
Yeah,
Not as crazy as in Argentina, but getting popular.
yeah.
So um, so maybe like a leather jacket.
Mm.
Uh, it could be a good option if you can find someone that you like. Knife. So they have a
Oh
pretty,
yeah.
because of the barbecue in Argentina, you can find a good knife that is not easy to find in the US.
Uh,
What else? Well, if you are able to buy and bring some dulce de leche also,
yeah,
even you can find in many places here, but that is
sure.
another option.
Yeah. No,
And
that's
wine. So
wine, of course.
Malbec
Of course.
and
Those are some great ones. Those are some
yeah,
great ones. Yeah,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I know our listeners will be happy. We'll put all those in the show notes for them.
Yes.
And then the last question, obviously you're fluent in English, but it's your second language. Do you have any favorite phrases you've picked up in English that you especially like?
Well, when I maybe it's fun when they say forget about it. So,
Okay, good, good,
uh,
good.
I don't know.
Forget about it. Forget
Yeah,
about it.
forget about it.
I like it.
Yeah, other movies, sometimes I don't remember anyone right now, but in the movies, they are making those really funny.
Yeah,
Sounds really funny.
I like it. Good choice. Um, well, Cesar, this has been an absolute blast. Really appreciate your openness and transparency about how to scale a successful company. Congratulations again on all the success of Making Sense.
Okay,
If
thank you.
people are interested, what's the best way for them to find Making Sense online?
Makingsense.com, or feel free to contact via LinkedIn, and I would be more than happy to answer any other questions that you may have. So I'm happy to connect with people um, and help as much as I can.
Perfect.
All
Well,
right.
Cesar, thank you again. Let me thank our audience and our sponsor, Nearshore Direct. Go nearshoredirect.com. Great way to find non-IT talent all across Latin America for growing US companies. Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you again, Cesar, and we'll see you the next time on the Nearshore Cafe podcast.